We'll start in a couple minutes. I wanted to give it till 6. I'm sorry for not more early warning on this one. I had thought I had set this to show that a stream was scheduled for 6 today, and yeah, I hadn't realized I didn't hit the public button, so that was the reason why it didn't happen. But we're gonna have it now. I was considering delaying till next week, but I just figured, meh, we'll just do it live. So I hope people enjoy these. These take quite a while to get together. Uh, Sorting through everything can be a bit tough. Also, just a lot of the stories are fake news. Like for worst take, a lot of the worst takes are made up, or like the person didn't actually say that at all, or they said something similar but wasn't nearly as bad, and the nuance was removed. So that takes a while, but it's fun. I enjoy doing this award show. I don't always get to it that early. So yeah, and then in Constantine is heading for Cyprus. Cool. I'm heading for Amsterdam in less than 2 months now. Imagine that. Bo, 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 bo. Oh. I feel like a lot of the awards for next, like I have to really get in and start working on next year already, because we've had a lot of stuff in a short period of time. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if where I'll see if Rain wants to join me at some point. She probably will. Oh. Do a mid-year show. I might. I'll think about it. I'll decide closer to the date. It's hard to explain exactly why it takes so long to do these. I don't know. It's just I have to go back and curate the list, and there's I don't know. Maybe I'll take out some categories or something. The categories are just kind of based on what I have. Like this year, there was only one entry for chat of the year, so we'll get to that in a second. But all right, so yeah, if you think anybody would be interested, please share the stream. We'll get started in a second or two. You can always watch the replay. I just figured, I think the Oscars are normally on at a similar amount of time, so it might be good. Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna run and grab a glass of water, and then we can get started. Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2025 Argent Awards, aka the Argies, where we deal out, I don't know what you want to call it, because some of them are not negative. We recognize the biggest stories of the year, the biggest people of the year, and just kind of look back and say, what even happened in 2025? Because I know when you reach the end of the year sometime, you're like, oh, nothing seemed to have happened in that year. And it's just nice to take kind of a step back and take a peek. So we're going to be going through the Argent Awards. We have a bunch of awards to get through. There isn't really a set number of awards. It kind of depends a lot on what's available. Some years there's more in some categories. Some years there's more in fewer. But before we get into it, what are the Argent Awards? So this is a concept I came up with based on something, if you know Abstract Entity and we briefly thought about doing a YouTube channel way back in the day. And one of the things we were going to do was the Third World Awards, just making fun of third world countries. And then there's the Golden Guns that Ashton PPP did, where they would give out awards to lolcows and for internet drama. So I wanted to do my own show and just take a look at some of the big events of the year and make fun of them, but also to give people some shout outs. So without further ado, as with the Oscars, we're going to start with In Loving Memory. So we had a bunch of people who died. Well, not a bunch, but we had some people who died last year that we remember. David Lynch, maker of many a surreal movie. Pope Francis, whatever you thought about him, he was the Pope, and he passed on. Dick Cheney, who Grok didn't want to put him in the In Loving Memory, so I didn't try to press it because no one cares about Dick Cheney. James Watson, the discoverer of DNA, and Hulk Hogan, who perished just after helping to get Donald Trump reelected. So if there's anybody that I'm forgetting who lost their life in the pursuit of an Argie Award in the 2025 year, please post in the chat or underneath it. Now, before we get into the awards proper, we're going to be doing the Justin Trudeau Lifetime Achievement Award. This is an award that we give up. This is an award that we give out to someone who may not win an Argie Award, but embodies the spirit of the Argie Awards and what they represent. So this is to ensure that even if they don't happen to win a particular award, they aren't walking away empty-handed, and we can clearly say that it was truly they won an Argie. So, the past recipients of the Justin Trudeau Lifetime Achievement Award, which we're just going to go over before we get to the new ones, are Tony Blinken, Bashar al-Assad, Kamala Harris, the award namer, Justin Justo Trudeau, Pope Francis, Emmanuel Macron, Joe Biden, Olaf Scholz, and Pashinyan. The new winners are Lindsey Graham, Vladimir Zelensky, Kanye West, Donald Trump, and Piers Morgan. And I just realized I forgot, much like most of the world's public, I forgot about Keir Starmer. I actually forgot to add him because he's so boring and so irrelevant. It's kind of like optical camouflage when you're dealing with Starmer. But those are the new entries for the year. And even if nothing else happens, they won an Argie. And always remember, it's an honor to just to be nominated. So, we are going to be doing our first award, one a fan favorite, probably my favorite to give out. There's kind of two or three awards I like to think of as the anchoring awards of the year, and this is one of them. First, we're going to start off with the honorable mentions for Cringe of the Year. These are ones that didn't quite make the mark. Our first honorable mention is Larry Johnson saying to Lavrov that Metternich, no, that Lavrov is not the Metternich of the 21st century. Metternich was the Lavrov of the 19th century. Second honorable mention, Gavin Newsom and Trump trying to fight each other IRL. Third honorable mention, Piers Morgan's Woke is Dead book being taken to the South Pole for a photo op. Zelensky wanting to fight Putin IRL in Turkey, going not to Istanbul but to, I think, Ankara or something, and then demanding like Putin go and face him face to face. The new Democratic Party logo. Trump's Truth Social account, the big beautiful bill, and Charlie Kirk's funeral. So, Charlie Kirk's funeral is there because of the fireworks, mainly. And the finalists for Cringe of the Year are the Friends-inspired Macron, Merz, Starmer, Tusk Ukraine trip. Danny Finkelstein for showing up in the middle of the Nick Fuentes interview and saying, "My mom died in the Holy." Renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. The Zelensky-Trump Oval Office meeting. And Liberation Day. Okay. So I'm going to just give it a second, and if people want to post who they think should win, I will give it 10 seconds, and then we can go. Okay. And the winner of arguably the most prestigious Argent Award for Cringe of the Year goes to the Zelensky-Trump Oval Office meeting. Featuring such quotes as, "I'm not playing cards, Mr. President. Have you even said thank you?" And just some sort of bizarre political theater that didn't really make a lot of sense to anybody. Trump and Zelensky and Vance are going to have to take this one. It was competitive, though. Liberation, like, there was a lot of stuff to deal with. But I think I had to go with that. Okay. A new award this year, in honor of the Ukraine cinematic universe and just how it's spread out, is the award for most cinematic. What is the most cinematic moment of 2025? And these are the honorable mentions. These are not the finalists. And the honorable mentions for most cinematic moment are the Trump-Putin Alaska Summit, Operation Spider's Web, the Friends Macron, Merz, Starmer, Tusk Ukraine trip, missile exchanges during the 12-day war, Russian forces entering Pokrovsk during the fog on motorcycles, and the U.S. Navy loitering off of the coast of Venezuela. And the finalists for most cinematic moment of 2025 are Danny Finkelstein showing up and talking about how me mom died in the Holy, Coalition of the Willing 2.0, Trump's bombing of Iran with the B-2s at the end of the 12-day war, the Charlie Kirk assassination, and Trump and Vance versus Zelensky, specifically, "I am not playing cards." Like some line from a suspense movie, or I guess a political thriller. Okay. I'm just gonna, after I finish the nominees, I'm just gonna pause for a moment, and if people want to post who they think should win or who they think I picked. Okay. And the award for most cinematic moment of 2025 is the relaunch of the Coalition of the Willing. Now, there were some strong competitors here, but this whole thing was just so bizarre. Like, I came up with the Ukraine cinematic universe like a couple of years back, and I called it I called them the Avengers. I said they're like because the European countries kept getting together to try to force America to do stuff, and then I'm just like I was trying to come up with different names for it, and they're like, okay, let's resurrect this discredited concept from 2003 in the Iraq War, but we're gonna use it in a non-ironic way, and we're gonna get all these like European countries together, and it's going to be the Coalition of the Willing, even though the original Coalition of the Willing basically wound up just being America and Britain, and then just America. And most of the countries that make up the Coalition of the Willing were actively against the first Coalition of the Willing or left it. So, I don't know. Just, it's literally they did like a low budget remake. And it proves once again that I was right to give myself the award for best take for Ukraine's cinematic universe. Okay. All right. We have another one of, I'd say, like the big three most prestigious awards. Okay. So the worst take. Oh, oops. I forgot to remove a couple of these. The worst take honorable mentions are Piers Morgan for not understanding per capita statistics, Neil Stone for saying if you think hygiene, sanitation, and nutrition ended infectious diseases, you're a quack, The Economist for saying white babies are insidious, and Nick Fuentes' arguments are irrelevant because he's a virgin, from Piers Morgan. Okay. Now the actual finalists for worst take, and there was a lot of them here. There was a specific person who got multiple nominations. So the 2025 nominee finalists for worst take are Russia is no longer building schools, no longer building hospitals, no longer developing public policy. It has no social policy at all, from Macron. So Russia is not building any schools or hospitals. Kanye asking Trump to pardon P. Diddy. Trump saying Rob Reiner died from Trump derangement syndrome. Trump saying that Epstein is a Democratic Party hoax. And a Al Jazeera reporter saying in response, saying that Trump can't deport Mexicans back to Mexico because Mexico can't cope with an influx of millions of people. No country can. Now that is accurate. My point is that they didn't get what the irony was of saying that they can't deport the illegal immigrants. So this one I think is pretty obvious. I had so many nominees for worst take. This category had to be split into three, but I think we all know what the worst take is. It's not even a contest. Epstein is a Democratic Party hoax. I'm gonna just read some of Trump's Truth Social post here. The Democrats are doing everything in their withering power to push the Epstein hoax again. Some weak Republicans have fallen into their clutches because they are soft and foolish. Epstein was a Democrat, and he is the Democrats' problem, not a Republican. Don't ask Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, and Larry Summers about Epstein. They know all about him. Don't waste your time with Trump. I have a country to run. So I think that one's pretty definitive. I have tried to like mentally figure it out, like what would like the level of 4D chess planning, like because Epstein's been around for decades. So like was Epstein a hoax the whole time, or was him running his like pedo ring a hoax, or was it being brought up again a hoax? I don't know. The whole thing was just bizarre, but I think that is the worst take of the year. Okay. All right. And now the finalists for our next category, the most delusional take. This was created because I just had too many for worst take, and I wanted to give out some more awards. So the nominees, the finalists for most delusional take of 2025 are Christmas being a Christian holiday is far right propaganda from Political Europe. Trump pretending he had a phone call with Modi when he didn't actually. Trump saying Ukraine is going to conquer parts of Russia. I have Trump saying that he has stopped 12 wars, and Poland not inviting Russia to Auschwitz's 80th year anniversary of liberation commemoration, despite being the ones who did it. So this was a rough one. People made good arguments, though, and ultimately I had to go with far-right parties claiming Christmas is a Christian holiday is far-right propaganda. So the quote is, far-right parties are claiming the festive season as their own, recasting Christmas as a marker of Christian civilization. There you have it. So that is a far right take. Christmas is not a Christian holiday, and if you think it is, that's because you're a member of a far right party or something like that. Now, to be slightly fair, I think what they're saying is they're giving it a political significance as a traditional Christian holiday, in contrasting it with how Europe is changing. But I don't know. It comes out that way. I don't really know what else to say with regards to that. But okay, so secular left. All right. Now the nominees for biggest cope of 2025 are There Are No Files, There's No Footage from Pam Bondi. Russia won Kursk because of 25,000 North Koreans, and that's the only reason. Ukraine is not losing. The front line is just moving in the wrong direction, from Mark Rutte. The 20th EU sanctions package, and Ukraine can fight without America, but it will be hard. And the winner for the biggest cope of 2025 is Mark Rutte. Ukraine is not losing. The front line is just moving in the wrong direction. Now, to be fair, that's not exactly what he said, but I posted the full quote here. He was asked, are we losing the war against Russia and Ukraine? The front is moving in the wrong direction, but at what cost? The Russians are paying with 1,500 people a day who are seriously wounded or killed, and yet the Russians are not achieving their objectives, and our task is to ensure that they never achieve their objectives. So no, Ukraine is not losing, and we must support them in reaching a position of strength. So that is the winner. It's slightly less delusional. I guess he's saying that like Ukraine is winning the attritional war, which they aren't. But that's Mark Rutte. Okay, this was another category I had almost nothing for. Nothing for. So I had to like come up with some that I did, but anyways, the finalists for best take of 2025 are my term, organizational omerta. I could talk about that some other time. My nickname for Mike Carney, Maple Macron. Casting actors who actually resemble the Zelda characters they're supposed to be playing, and Bibi Netanyahu admitting publicly that Epstein was part of the Israeli deep state. All right. And the Argent Award for Best Take of 2025 goes to Benjamin Netanyahu for posting on his Twitter that yes, Jeffrey Epstein was part of the Israeli deep state and did meddle and had meddled in Israeli elections in the past. He linked to this whole article about it. So, I mean, we have it here. It's from Jacobin. Netanyahu posting the article to Jacobin is pretty weird, but it is what it is. Like I said, I just didn't have very many nominees for that category. Raina's come over and she is now sitting in my lap, probably because it's warm, but it's good to see you, girl. You're a good kitty. All right. So, the finalists for the biggest snake of 2025. The nominees are Trump announcing, then canceling the Budapest summit. Mike Waltz being a sleeper agent working for Israel. Friedrich Merz getting the EU to sanction Germany. Trump and Israel repeatedly using negotiations to lure Iran and co. into a false sense of security and then sneaking attacking them. And the EU on Belgium over the Euroclear Russian frozen assets. This one is really competitive. There's a lot of them here. I probably should have put in DSP as the king snake, but I try to limit the online stuff. I try to limit the number of online things there are. So now this one might be controversial, but I think in terms of just purely being a snake, it had to go to Mike Waltz for being an Israeli sleeper agent. So I don't know if you guys know this story. So Mike Waltz was national security advisor, and it turned out that he was like directly working with the Israeli government behind Trump's back. And he was like taking orders from Netanyahu and lobbying on behalf of the Israeli government. There's also this like, I don't even understand it. There was like a unsecure signal chat group that he let a journalist into so that the journalist could have access to like the signal chat group that the administration was using. And then, I don't know, and then he became UN advisor. So this is why it might be controversial, because this sort of thing happens constantly. But it's just such a clear example of someone being, the Yemen chat, of someone being a snake. I just felt obligated to include it. So, like I said, that was a competitive category. There was a bunch of really good ones there, but I just thought that was the most clear example of being a snake. Okay. White Door says Israel-related entries just need their own category. Well, I mean, Nostradamus here, because we have the Israeli Optics Award. This award is presented for the most optical things that Israel has done in the previous year. This is something that we introduced after the Hamas attack. And so, the nominees for the Israeli Optics Award are attacking Iran in the middle of negotiations with the United States, bombing Qatar despite it being a U.S. ally, implanting Mike Waltz as a sleeper agent within the Trump administration, the IDF creating kill zones and gunning down Palestinians trying to get food aid, Netanyahu claiming there is no starvation in Gaza, and ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt complaining about intermarriage rates between Jews and non-Jews. So this one is kind of tricky because you have like macro and micro stuff. Like you could argue that like in macro terms, the Qatar thing is the worst. You could argue that the Jonathan Greenblatt thing is the most mask off moment. You could argue that Netanyahu saying, like, there's no starvation in Gaza almost got nominated for most delusional moment, but yeah. However, this has to go to the most optical thing that Israel did in 2025 is the idea of gunning down Palestinians seeking aid. So, if you guys haven't seen the Tucker Carlson interview on this one, it was insane. So, the Israelis only allowed, I think it was 4 aid camps within Gaza, and 3 of them were in active combat zones. So, they had no like system set up. They would just set the supplies out, and just let the Palestinians like rush to get them. However, the rules of engagement allow them to shoot Palestinians if they feel threatened. So what they would do is they would basically just lay the supplies out with no crowd control. And when the Palestinians rush forward to get the food, they would just gun them down, including with tanks and artillery, and just leave a giant bloody mess. And they just would do this frequently. So that, I think, is going to get the award. Very optical. Very optical. Okay. Another fan favorite. We have the Third World Award. This is for the most third world thing to happen in 2025. Now, the previous one, I don't think can ever be topped. Haiti, the Haitian government being overthrown by cannibal gangs, probably will never be beaten in terms of just raw third world nonsense, but we'll see. All right, the honorable mentions are the New Orleans New Year's attack, California's wildfire response, Zelensky saying $100 billion of Ukrainian aid is missing, and the Spain-Portugal blackout when they switched over to renewable energy or whatever and it immediately collapsed. Okay. So this one was almost impossible. This was probably the single hardest one. So the finalists for Third World Award are as follows. Romania canceling elections over TikTok videos. New Jersey removing the basic literacy test requirement for new teacher certification so that there could be more diversity in teaching. Birmingham having a literal biblical rat plague, including rats the size of rain who were attacking people. Irina's Zarutska, I can't pronounce her name, murder, and the Louvre art theft. So these are all just like, it's hard. It's hard. These are all very worthy of getting the Third World Award on their own. Is there anything about ICE Karens? Not this year. Not on this. Not in 2025. There might be in 2026, but we'll see. I mean, it's hard. It's like, do we want to talk about just systematic incompetence, like the EU acting like a banana republic? New Jersey just saying, yeah, we're a third world country now. I don't know. It's hard. But as difficult as it was, I had to go with Romania and the EU for canceling elections over TikTok videos. So, yeah, the first round of elections in Romania, I think his name is Georgescu, who is like an independent nationalist candidate. He won, and it looked like he was going to win the second round of the elections as well. And the Romanian Supreme Court in the EU annulled the first round of elections, saying that there was massive Russian interference, mostly in the form of TikTok videos. I'm not joking. So it was annulled. Then they redid the election, but Georgescu was not allowed to run in it. Instead, they ran some other like Euro-approved far-right like nationalist candidate to take over in place of him. The main issue with Georgescu is that he wanted a neutral Romania, and that was not permissible. So they literally canceled a national election and then banned him over TikTok videos, which is also one of the gayest things I've ever seen, but it is what it is. Okay. Now we're heading into the L's and W's, the biggest wins and losses of 2025. So before we get into the finalists for biggest collective L, we have a couple honorable mentions. The Baltic states cutting off Russian electricity to own Russia and immediately having shortages. Oil costing more than natural gas in Germany. America misplacing Iran's enriched uranium, and Thailand being the first Asian country to legalize gay marriage. The fact that we have misplacing uranium this high, I think, says something. But with regards to Germany, I never heard of such a thing as oil and natural gas costing the same amount. Isn't gas almost always way cheaper than oil? I don't know. It's just weird. Anyways. The finalists for biggest collective L are the terms of Ukraine's mineral rights deal, America's Liberation Day tariffs, every party in the German election, Israel for every campaign except for Syria, and Disney's Snow White reboot collapsing before pre-release. I thought I had proofread these. Oh well. It is what it is. Maybe that'll be the individual L. Argent not doing a good enough job proofreading these. Okay, so this one is probably going to be controversial. People can say that me giving Hamas the biggest W for 2022 is, in retrospect, might have been a mistake. I don't know. But the award I'm going to give it to is Israel for every campaign except Syria. So once again, this might be controversial, but although the Assad government was overthrown, everything else has kind of been a mess. Like, they invaded Lebanon, they fought Hezbollah to a standstill, blew up a bunch of stuff, gave up and left. Hezbollah is still active. They're still powerful. They're still armed. They didn't achieve any of their strategic objectives there. Hamas still exists. They've leveled Gaza, but they haven't achieved any of their objectives there either. They were unable to do anything to stop the Houthis. The Syria situation is not looking great. They managed to take some additional territory. In my opinion, they lost the war with Iran. I say that because Israel burned through like probably billions of dollars worth of air defense missiles to stop like tens of millions of dollars of Iranian missiles and drones. And Israel burned through multiple years worth of production of interceptor missiles in a 12-day period. So they're just going to be in kind of a continual deficit going forward. Yes, Constantine says they burned through 3 to 5 years of production of air defense missiles. So did they blow up a lot of stuff on Iran? Yes, but I don't know. Israel hasn't really achieved any of its like major objectives other than defeating Assad. Although you could argue that was more Turkey, but anyways. All right. The biggest individual L of 2025 is the nominees are as follows. DSP's failed redemption arc. Pierre Poilievre losing what should have been an easy election. Zelensky's White House press conference. Merz losing the chancellorship vote on the first round, in fact, I believe being the first chancellor to ever have that happen, and Elon Musk getting kicked out of the Trump administration after basically being a critical part of Trump winning the election after like a month. And the winner for biggest L of 2025 is Elon Musk for getting ejected from the Trump administration almost immediately. Did any of the Doge stuff even go anywhere? Like, did it actually get shut down? Like, did they actually cut any of the stuff that they said they were going to cut? Did USAID get permanently closed? Like, I don't know. Like, Elon Musk was there to like be like lead this big transition of America into this like tech broocracy, and he was gonna bring energy and stuff to Trump and to the US, and then it just never went anywhere. I mean, you can say what you will about Elon, but I agree with Fuentes on this one that I like the chaos of Doge. Like I like that they brought some chaos. They tried to do something a bit different. They tried to shake things up a little. I appreciate that. You can say what you will about Elon, but a lot of good was done through Doge. The thing is that Doge is not Doge can't cut the entitlement programs, which are like 80% of the budget, or what I did a video on it in the past. But a lot of the stuff that they did cut or were going to cut was more politically important. Like it was a lot of like DEI and funding foreign media and stuff like that. All right. Next, we have something a little more positive. The biggest collective W of 2025. And the nominees are English being declared America's official language, Argentina's economic miracle under Milei, Rwanda's string of victories in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Jan 6 protesters being pardoned on Trump's first day, and Iran's victory, in my opinion, in the 12-day war. So this one was also competitive. I know a lot of people here probably don't like Milei. Whatever you say about him, I think he has done a better job with the economy than the previous administration. That's just my opinion, though. I wanted to just give a feel-good story for this one. It's something that can warm everybody's heart. So the Jan 6 protesters getting pardoned was the biggest collective W of 2025. I remember the night it happened, I was watching Potentially Criminal, and it was just him mocking all of the like Karen judges who were complaining about the protesters being pardoned. And I just remember I just remember seeing like the people being let out of jail and like walking out with their clothes and their families hugging them, and I'm just like, you know what? Even if nothing else happens in Trump's presidency, in a sense, it was worth it just to get those guys out of there. I haven't followed it super closely, but my understanding is they were just really abusing them in prison, and the whole thing is nonsense. You can say what you want about Jan 6. I think at worst it's criminal trespassing and like I don't know, minor mischief. But it's just I think that's a W. I think that's a feel-good W, and I'm glad that they got out of prison. That whole thing was just such a shit show. I personally call Jan 6 the riot. I don't like when people call it like an insurrection. Whatever. I don't know. I don't really buy the whole narrative that it was. I don't know. We can talk about Jan 6 some other time. I think a bunch of people just got overly excited and went a bit too far. Okay, so biggest individual W of 2025 is Mark Carney for showing up and being a karma Houdini. We had Justo, one of the least popular prime ministers in Canadian history. Polyev was set to sweep in, win a huge majority, utterly destroy the Liberal Party. Mark Carney shows up, the boring white man, some weird creature of the global financial system, and wins the Canadian election. We have Nick Fuentes for his Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan interview, although with some recent stuff he said on his show, that might be reversed. We have RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard for getting cabinet posts. Nigel Farage for surging in the polls despite, in my opinion, his immense personal incompetence. And Starmer for surviving the year despite being the most unpopular UK PM of all time. This was another competitive one. We had a lot of people who won really big this year, actually. But I think there's one person who put just a little bit above the others. And in my opinion, the winner of the biggest W of 2025 is Mark Carney as a karma Houdini for coming out of nowhere and somehow winning an election he had no business winning. Like, Mark Carney's so bizarre. He's this weird, like, I call him Maple Macron because he's this weird creature of the international finance system. Like, I forget when the last time he was in Canada, but he had been, like, part of the World Economic Forum. He had been the president or the governor of the Bank of England and I think the Bank of Canada, and he just kind of showed up out of nowhere. They made him leader of the political part of the Liberal Party, and he just became super popular. I don't really get it, but yeah. Next up, we have Chat of the Year. Now, there was only one nominee for it, so it won. We are going to just be awarding the Chat of the Year award to Jobs.now. So, for those of you who aren't aware what Jobs.now is, so for H-1Bs, I think it is, from my understanding, in order to import a skilled worker to the United States, they have to prove that there is no domestic skilled worker available for the position. And to do that, they have to advertise it. So what a lot of these companies will do is they will publish like an ad for the job in an obscure local paper in the back. They have secret job posting sites that are not publicly accessible, like they will be unlisted by Google. They just have all these sleazy ways of posting of doing job postings in a way that people can't functionally apply for them so they can bring in more H-1Bs. So Jobs.now figured out how to find all these and put them all up on their website, along with hiring information. They also provided information on how to contact the Department of Labor if you feel you're being discriminated against for being an American citizen, form letters that you can send accusing them of that, and stuff like that. So I think they're doing God's work, and I've seen some seethe about it. Okay. All right. Another extremely competitive category, which always has a strange mixture of people in it. The nominees for Gamer of the Year are Donald Trump, DeCarlos Brown Jr., that's the guy who killed the Ukrainian refugee girl. The Doge staffer Big Balls, Abu Mohammed El Jalani, Bashar al-Assad, Johnny Somali, Ben Shapiro, Timur Mindich, and the man formerly known as Prince Andrew. So this is the person. This is the person who most embodies the gamer lifestyle. The person who got the high score of the year. If you guys know that old Encyclopedia Dramatica meme. So I went with a bit of an unconventional pick for this one, but there is someone who just barely edged it out. I mean, it's competitive. We have Johnny Somali. We have all the stuff that Trump pulled. We have Ben Shapiro with all of his unhinged rants. Well, the winner for Gamer of the Year is Timur Mindich for the gold toilet seat. So he was like one of Zelensky's main financiers, and they had this operation, what they eventually called Operation Midas, because in one of the apartments that they seized, he had a solid gold toilet seat, and he was at like the center of this massive corruption ring in Ukraine, and him getting like taken down led to, I think, 3 cabinet ministers getting taken down, and just this cascade. The thing that pushed him over the top, though, is because he's a Jew, he fled to Israel and is now hiding out in Israel, where he can't be extradited because Israel doesn't extradite people. He had the solid gold toilet seat. He ran the entire corruption network for Zelensky. I don't know, just him hiding out in Israel is really funny for some reason. All right. So, next up we have the We Live in a Society Award. So this had to be splitted into We Live in a Society and We Live in an Anglo Society, but because all the nominations were coming from Canada, Australia, and UK. However, even after splitting it, almost all of the most of the existing, like the nominations for the non-Anglo ones, still come from Anglo ones. Anyways, the honorable mentions are all of China having fewer foreigners living in it than Berlin, the Charlie Kirk assassination, posting the address of all the Tesla owners so they will get attacked when Doge was formed. Excuse me. So, the actual finalists for We Live in a Society are a self-guided tour at the Science Museum in London dubbing Lego blocks anti-LGBT, warning they reinforce heteronormativity. I think that's true about China. We'll say it is. They reinforce heteronormativity because they call the top of them male and the bottom female. British porn actress Bonnie Blue for having sex with over 1,000 dudes in 12 hours. The entire left-wing media being funded by US aid. Ukrainian refugee Irina Zaruchka being murdered on a train. And New Zealand granting legal personhood to a mountain. Now, I know like most of these, or all of these are basically UK anyways, other than 2, but I don't know, the UK is just tries to dominate this category every year. Okay. So the purpose of this award is it's something that comes after the phrase "we live in a society." So we live in a society where we have a porn star who got famous for fucking 1,000 dudes in 12 hours. We live in a society where where a country can grant legal personhood to a mountain. I just had to, for this one, I like to go sometimes with something a little bit less political. Bonnie Blue for having sex with 1,000 dudes in 12 hours. We live in a society where this happens, and it's a big news story. In my opinion, it's basically a satanic ritual, but what do I know? What do I know? Anyways, so the nominees for We Live in an Anglo Society Award, and these are, I'm going to warn you guys now, these are actually not even funny. These are actually mostly just super fucking depressing. We Live in an Anglo Society. Canadian Olympic medalist Alicia Newman for having an OnlyFans account in order to fund her Olympic training. That Canada's population is now more Sikh than by percentage than India. So a larger percent of Canada's population are Sikhs than India's is, which is the whole mass grave narrative turning out to be a huge hoax. I don't think a single grave was actually found in Canada. Canada banning people from entering the woods in various provinces during the summer wildfires. The introduction of black land acknowledgements in Canada. They have those now in Toronto or something of the equivalent. Canada removing the mandatory minimum sentence for possession of child pornography. Airlines in Canada having land acknowledgements prior to takeoff. And the UK banning ninja swords as a way to combat crime. If you're flying on an airplane, they do a land acknowledgement that they're flying over colonized land. And the award for We Live in an Anglo Society, it's going to be an upset. Keir Starmer for banning ninja swords to solve Britain's crime problem. And this was an actual tweet. Confirmed. Ninja swords will be banned by this summer. When we promise action, we take it. Knife crime is at epidemic levels and is ruining lives across Britain. We'll crack down on this sale of these dangerous, lethal weapons. So Keir Starmer did it. He banned ninja swords. Now, what is a ninja sword? I still don't really know. What it is? Is it a katana? Is it a wakadashi? Is it a tanto? Is it a ninjato? I don't know, but ninja swords were banned because those are the ninjas are just going wild in the streets of the UK. Okay. Next up, the honorable mentions for the Gay Ops Award. So the honorable mentions are the Baltic states cutting off Russian electricity and immediately facing energy shortages, Ukraine declaring a ceasefire and then complaining when Russia rejected it. I forget when that happened exactly, but at one point Ukraine declared one and then immediately complained that Russia didn't do it. There's the Kellogg peace plan, the Signal chat leaks, and 4chan being shut down. So those are the honorable mentions. All right. So the Gay Ops Award finalists for 2025 are Europe's energy scheme. This is the one where rather than buy cheap energy from Russia, they're going to import liquefied natural gas from the United States or import Russian oil from India or Turkey at a much higher cost. We have the Ukraine mineral rights deal. We have Trump's tariffs, aka Liberation Day. We have Operation Spider's Web. And we have the left paying protesters to attack Tesla dealerships and posting the addresses of Doge employees. Okay. And the award for Gay Op of 2025 is the mineral rights deal. Of Now, for something to be a gay op, it has to be an overly complicated, poorly thought out plan that even if it succeeds is not going to do anything. In the mineral rights deal, I think is the ultimate example of it. No one could really explain what the mineral rights deal was, what the terms were, what the point of it is, whatever wound up happening to it. It's just this thing that was obsessed over for months. And both sides seem to put a whole bunch of emphasis on something that really, in my opinion, didn't really amount to much. And then they finally got it signed, and then it was just memory hold and never referenced again. In part because the area that the mineral rights deal referred to was immediately overrun by Russia, like by the time the deal was actually signed. So, Operation Spider's Web was a gay op, but I guess it at least damaged a couple Russian airplanes. Liberation Day was, I guess, but yeah. So, we're down to the last two Argent Awards for 2025. It's been a long time coming, but we are going to be presenting the Kanye West Award for Lol Cow of the Year. And the nominees for Lol Cow of 2025 are Kanye West, Vladimir Zelensky, The Quartering, iDubbbz, Pierre Polyev, Yoon Suk Yeol, and Pam Bondi for the Lol Cow of 2025. It's rough. It's a tricky one. Now, internet people can't win. I'm just going to say that right now. While the Quartering and iDubbbz probably deserve this award, but they aren't going to get it because internet stuff can't win. They just get nominated as a joke. Okay, so people might disagree with me on this one, but I felt that he did a lot to deserve it this year. The Lol Cow of 2025 is Vladimir Zelensky for begging more than a live streamer, for reaching DSP quartering levels of e-begging, just constantly going country to country, demanding stuff from people. Also, just all the stuff, the negotiations and the corruptions. I don't know, just so many goofy things happened with Zelensky in 2025. I just felt that he deserved it this year. I think that he earned it. Maybe that was kind of too obvious that it should have been Pam Bondi, but I think he just edged it out. So, okay. I think Yoon won last year. Yoon won for Biggest L. I think last year, but okay. So we're down to our last award, and it is one of the most prestigious awards. I will break YouTube's TOS and say the last Argie for 2025 is Faggot of the Year. And Faggot of the Year, the nominees are Keir Starmer, Friedrich Merz, Lindsey Graham, Nigel Farage, Piers Morgan, and Reza Pahlavi. This is a very competitive roster. As we all know, last year Schultz won this one. And I think before that, Tony Blinken won it. So it's a tricky one, but it's hard. Lindsey Graham got nominated for both categories because he's also kind of a gamer. I mean, I think ultimately it had to be one person, and I don't think anybody else could have won this category. The RG for Faggot of 2025 goes to Keir Starmer for Too Many Things to Count, for being the most unlikable unloved, unpopular prime minister in the history of the United Kingdom. What an award. What an award. What a night. Starmer just clutching it at the last minute there. By the way, you can't be nominated for both Lolcow of the Year and Essler of the Year. So, those were the Argies for 2025. I'll just stay on from it. Is there any that people disagree with? Any people agree with? Any surprises? Let me know. But I don't know. I just had to give it to Starmer. Starmer is just such a pathetic excuse for a human being. Do you think there's a single person who actually likes Starmer, like as an individual? Will you accept the Heritage Foundation's late grade entry for gayest dad of the year? I'll put it in 2025. There were some curveballs this year. I admit it's sometimes biased a bit that I pick one that I think is going to be interesting, even if it's worthy. I don't know. Do you think Starmer's mom died in the holly? My mom died in the holly. Disappointing. Oh, that's too bad. I don't know. The Third World Award, I think, was the hardest. The Third World one was really hard. Let me just go back to where it is. Like, I went back and forth over this one. Like, New Jersey was winning, but then but I don't know. TikTok elections is so insane. I don't even know what to say. Anyways, everybody, that was the 2025 RG Awards. Thank you very much for coming by. I really love all you guys. I appreciate that you watch me. You watch this stuff and you enjoy it, and I look forward to another great year with all of you. So, God bless everybody. Have a great rest of your